You can tell by the twinkle in my eye. That manufacturing just provides you with so many different opportunities and so many different disciplines that all have to come together. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things I really enjoy about it is that it's a team effort. There's a lot of problem solving. Never is one day the same as the next because you have so many disciplines pulling together to solve a problem. And that's what I find really appealing.
Just a quick reminder for you to like, subscribe, and rate this podcast so we can get your feedback and know how to make it better. Hey, it's Ari. Welcome to another episode of the Made in America podcast. I am really excited to have Michele Etzel, Executive Vice President of National Graphics on. Michele, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Listen, it's the Made in America podcast, Michele, so we always start off with the same two questions. What do you make and why do you make it?
What do we make? We are direct mail printers, which means we're part of the print marketing end of the world. So every client has to get in touch with their end user. So if you figure in the world of marketing, there's probably 5 big mediums: TV, radio, print, email or digital, and telephone. So we're in that print world.
Got it.
And why do we do it?
Yeah.
Well, this is the fun part. We do it because our clients still believe and still find that we're the most relevant one out there to get to the end user. In other words, I'm going to mail it from me to you, and I know you're going to get it and that you have to do something with it. There isn't a filter. There isn't a monitoring service for your phone. There isn't a spam folder. They can't turn off the TV. They can't turn off the radio. So for us, it's probably the most pleasant, feels a little bit more unsolicited, and one of the most measurable ways of getting a response from our clients.
Well, listen, those are good reasons to do it.
Great.
Yeah, customer service I know is really important to you and really needs to be primary for every business, right, if we want to be successful. And we definitely want to get into the 40-plus year history and family business, and we got all that good stuff to get into. And certainly we'll acknowledge that you and I were on a panel for CBIA together not that long ago. But before we sort of get into those details, let's take a little bit of a personal turn. You know, what got you into manufacturing? What got you into the family business? You know, where's your passion come from? Maybe give us kind of that background.
Wow. Well, I'm an accountant by trade. I graduated with this in accounting, worked at EY for a while, and then went to Johnson & Johnson. And my job at Johnson & Johnson was in accounting, but it was supporting the manufacturing floor. And boy, that's fun. You just can't not enjoy it because on any given day, you're working with an operator, an engineer, another accountant, a marketing person. So the world of manufacturing really lit up then. My father had started the business in 1980, and it was beginning to take off, and he asked me at one time if I would come home and help him for a summer. It's been a very long summer. I'm still here.
What year was that?
Oh, God, early 80s.
Okay.
So I've been there for quite some time, and I find it to be really exciting. On anything you do, you can add a financial twist to it. So I can work with the operations folks, and there's always numbers involved there. You work with marketing, there's numbers, sales, there's numbers. But in manufacturing, you have the ability to kind of touch upon everything and see those numbers really come alive. It's not just crunching them in an office. It's actually going out there and seeing the results of what you're working on. And if you're unsure, I always tell my team, please go out on the floor and talk to people and learn and educate yourself. It's you can tell by the twinkle in my eye. That manufacturing just provides you with so many different opportunities and so many different disciplines that all have to come together. And one of the big things I really enjoy about it is that it's a team effort. There's a lot of problem solving. Never is one day the same as the next because you have so many disciplines pulling together to solve a problem. And that's what I find really appealing.
So you kind of have come at it from some different lenses, right? So you started Ernst & Young,
Yep.
which is like a really, big accounting firm, probably working on some audits and some other
Right.
so audit work for clients, whatever. And then you went to a really large, consumer goods, Johnson & Johnson, right? I mean, world known. And then, in a small family business. I just wonder if maybe you could sort of compare and contrast that for people that might be listening who've kind of had some different experiences. Like, talk a little bit about, the difference between being in sort of pure finance, then sort of big manufacturing, and then that compared to the family business. And
well, the pure finance side of it, the accounting world, the Ernst & Young world, you're either going to you niched into a different area of the Ernst & Young world. Mine was auditing, and it was a look back. It was a double check, and then presenting financial statements from what had happened in the past. And it was a great education, and I loved it. Johnson & Johnson came along, and I got into a little bit more of the now and the future, and that was exciting. And when you're talking about going from reporting to having an impact on what's going on, and you're talking about a large consumer goods products like Johnson & Johnson, and my world was Band-Aids.
Okay.
Band-Aids, casting materials, surgical materials. I was very fortunate to have a taste of a number of different things in the facility that I was supporting. And then you come to a privately held company. It's a little bit smaller, but I've noticed that in the Johnson & Johnson world, you make a recommendation, and because it's larger, it just takes longer for it to pivot or change. It's not that it doesn't happen, it's just that it takes a little bit longer. Whereas in a business like ours, or in any smaller business, the pivot happens quick. Mm-hmm. And you can see the results immediately. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good.
See problem or see issue, make decision, execute in an hour or whatever, as opposed to what could take months.
And pull in the team.
Sure.
Because it's not just you. You could see the problem, but maybe it's not a problem. You talk to an operator and say, this looks like it might be more difficult than it needs to be. No, it's better. Okay. Good.
Go let it go.
Or you talk to someone in the customer service area and say, can we do this a little bit better? And you bring in a team, get everybody to weigh in, and then you move on. Mm-hmm. It's not a 6, 8, 10-month decision. It's let's move on. And let's move on to the next one. So, and that's the nature of our world. Direct response printing or direct mail printing is all time-dated material. So we get it. It needs to be in the mail and out the door. We don't have time to really think too much about it, in the sense of we just have to get it done.
Right.
And make sure that we're protecting our clients. We've partnered with them. We have like a 99% customer retention rate. They become a part of the family. So everybody really has a vested interest in making things work.
What's your kind of go-to-market strategy at this point? Like, maybe I'll even take a step back. And you and I talked about this briefly when we were at CBIA together, which is I think some people maybe sleep on the print industry a little bit and don't know what's going on with it in 2020, 2022. I know you're passionate about it, and you guys have been very successful with it. And you sort of feel like it's got a staying niche power that's going to be here for a while.
Do you still go to your mailbox?
I do.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's still opening the mail.
Yeah.
You're still opening the mail. During COVID, people went to their mailboxes even more. They were zoomed out.
Yeah.
So when they got an answer, and quite frankly, a lot of our clients are not just they're not just marketing. Some of them are associations. Some of them are nonprofits. They're educating. Mm-hmm. So we might be printing a newsletter, and during COVID, we saw a lot of that. How to take care of this, how to handle your finances, how to handle the new changes, and it's educational. Mm-hmm. So I think people still get that. I got mail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I got something in the mail. This is great.
Yeah.
And for our clients, it's still very measurable. It's hard to measure specifically how many people were in the room and how many people went out and bought a car on TV or on radio. Email, you can click, but to open the door, the mail is still a door opener. And for many of our nonprofits, it's exactly that. It's a door opener.
And so are you guys getting involved in the design of the mailings that go out, or they kind of come to you with it's already kind of ready to rock?
It's usually already ready.
Okay.
Because we're dealing with large organizations and large nonprofits. They have their own design team. They know the color of their logo. They know exactly what they want. They've done the market research. They need us to print. And we're either part of a total package, a piece of a package, a product. For example, in the marketing world, there's something called a bounce back. If you order something via catalog, 9 times out of 10, there's something in there saying, thank you for the order, and would you like this? So they're expecting it to reply right back. So it's kind of neat to see our products out there after you print them. We don't necessarily look for them, but every now and then you see it and you go, we printed this.
Yeah. And what's the role? Is there a role of technology? Like, has printing evolved from a technology perspective? Like, talk a little bit about how you guys embrace technology.
Well, technology is something that printers, there's a ton of technology. So printers can evolve, and I have a different view of it. But remember, I have a financial background.
Yeah.
So I believe that you take a bite at a time, a piece of the pie. Many printers will get in too much trouble because it will become too much capital expenditures, and the technology and the costs will kill them, and they can't fill the press, and they can't make the sales in order to cover the costs. So for us, we believe in a piece at a time, and we keep an eye on what's going on out there, and we do what's best for our facility. And I think the staying power is a testament to how well we've done. We don't need to go overboard with technology. We just need to do, and we don't ignore it. So I don't want the people to think that we're forgetting about technology. I think we're being very judicious when we upgrade or we change.
Because it's so important to be able to keep like the economies of scale that you have and the processes that you have. So change makes it a little bit more complicated.
Oh, absolutely. The capital expenditures are incredible. So
the name of the game is utilization, right? I'm just in manufacturing, right? You got this printer, you spent all the money, you got to be running it all the time to be able to pay.
You want to
off.
run it. You want to make sure you're running it at a profit, because that profit is what helps you buy the next one.
Yep.
So you have to really think about what you're going to do. And for example, during COVID, no one planned COVID, but we had planned to put in a new press, and that new press was opening up a new level of technology for us. So that particular press was something that we planned. You don't just put it in there without thinking about what types of clients are going to fill it, how you're going to sell it, and most people do. But I think we're a little bit more strategic. I think we're a little bit more thoughtful when we do something like that. We don't just go purchase it and then hope to fill it. We want to make sure this is something that's going to be profitable because we have families there. I don't want to look someone in the eye and say, I'm sorry.
Right.
I want to look them in the eye and say, do you have any friends we can hire? Do you know more people?
So what's the process you go through to kind of be a little bit more judicious with it? You talked before about sort of bringing in teamwork, obviously with your financial background and numbers. Like what sort of triggers you to say maybe it's time to bring in a new press or bring in some new technology? And then how do you kind of go evaluating it to make sure it's the right move?
Well, it kind of, sometimes it's osmosis that kind of happens. We have clients that have been with us for a number of years. So when you talk about clients that, I knew before I was married, before I had children, you develop a rapport with them. And when you develop a rapport, they say, can you print this? Oh, we have a new product. Can you print this? Can you print this? Well, there's different print processes. So you don't have a press for every process. Okay. So we develop partnerships with other firms. And when that business becomes another world, you look at it and say, maybe we need to do that in-house. So that's one way of doing it. Because
forgive my ignorance, but so what we're saying is depending on what you're printing or what you're printing on or whatever, you might need different technology. So rather than you have to have everything, you partner just like every other manufacturer.
Absolutely.
Some things you send out, some things you, And so at some point you're going, wow, we got enough business this, we could just build our own line?
Correct. Actually, in this particular case, we could not only build our own line, but keep our vendors sustained.
Really?
So it got to that point where we said we could do this. And do we have the personnel? Do we have the capacity? Do we have the room? Yeah, we do. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
And what it has allowed us to do is grow a whole other product line and not be limited by the vendors that we might have. And they're still part of the family, because they very much are part of the family. So that's kind of one avenue. The other avenue is really listening to our sales team. the sales team is telling you what's going on out there. And they're saying, we seem to be getting a lot more of this. Clients are asking for more, X, and X is becoming something that we really need to listen to. And then we go explore it, put together a team. And usually the team's someone financial, sales, operations, engineering, and that's the fun. That's where the real partnership,
that's when the creativity comes into play.
Yes.
Yeah, you said something that I want to talk about a little bit, which I think, you're several dozen employees, and one of the things that starts
more.
to happen.
More. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So once you start getting in that 50, 60, 75 employees, one of the things I think people start to notice things I've noticed, I should say, is that companies start to look pretty inwardly. And they lose touch sometimes with the customer. And you had talked about this idea of like bringing in the sales team because they're out there hearing what the market's saying, what the customer's saying. When companies are really small, right, when you're just first starting off and it's a handful of people, you're listening to the customer because, half your day is spent talking to customers. But as we get bigger, right, we start to sort of look internally. Sounds like you've developed a methodology of using the sales team to really keep your finger on the pulse of what customers want. Maybe you could talk to that. I think a lot of people could learn from that.
Well, it's a family business.
Sure.
One of the team members' family is running our sales, so they'll be heard.
They will be heard.
They will most definitely be heard. But something my dad established many years ago is in order for you to really grow in the company, you needed to actually sell. You actually had to go out to the client. You actually had to open a door, maintain it, walk them through the whole process. And even to this day, every executive has a client that they're kind of responsible for. So I might be by trade an accountant, a CPA, but I've had to go out there and actually peddle talk to someone and say, let me tell you about this. You have to open a door. And boy, there's nothing like being in that position. That position helps you have a great level of empathy for what a salesperson goes through and for what customer service goes through and to understand the operation. So I think that is something that helps us really stay close to our clients. No matter what, even on the finance side, I want to know the clients.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've just jotting a bunch of notes here because I think executive sponsorship for accounts is such a really smart way.
Thank you.
To keep that like really strong connection, because nothing teaches you like experience, right? Like it's hard to know what it's like to answer a difficult customer question if you're not out answering difficult customer questions, right?
Well, it's hard to open a door. And to keep it open.
Yep.
And it could be a quick trigger to lose it.
Of course.
So the education that you get by going through that process, and sometimes that quick snap and loss of it isn't even anything that you've done. The company got bought out.
Sure.
It's over. And remember, 98, 99 customer retention rate. So we're not losing clients because we're not paying attention to them. We're losing clients because of maybe an outside something that happened. So I think it teaches you to be more in tune. And when you're at an executive level, it filters down to everyone.
Plus, it also probably educates you when you're making decisions in finance, right? Like about even things that may seem as mundane as like billing and how you communicate through the billing. When you're communicating with customers, I bet it gives you a different perspective when you're generating internal processes.
Well, I have to take one hat off and put on another. And it's an interesting position to be in because you have to take, I always say that I have to change hats or change glasses. I have to look at it through a different lens. Today I'm looking at it as, the representative of this client. Now I have to take those glasses off and put on my other glasses, which is the accounting side or the finance side, and say, is this client the best client for us? If we're not making a profit, then this might not be the best client. I have to shift. I have to pivot. I have to find a different way to do this. We have to maybe price things differently. So it's an interesting position to be in, but it's also that's an ownership position.
Correct.
And if you have more than just you doing it, it's even better.
When you think about executive sponsorship for accounts, like I think that's just so interesting. How do you decide which accounts people get onto? Like, how does that work? It's
a family business, and there might be a little bit of rivalry from time to time. Like, I like that customer. I want that account.
Gotcha. There you go.
And sometimes it just falls in your lap.
Right.
And sometimes personality.
Yep.
This client might fit better with you in your personality rather than me, but I think I'd do better with that person. So I think it's really just a fit. And a lot of it is chemistry.
What are the family dynamics at National Graphics, today? Like, is your father still in the business?
He says no. Actually, no, he really isn't. He's kind of turned it over, and he's turned it over a number of years.
Okay.
And he's done a really nice job when you think about it, because what we have is we're covered in all disciplines. We have the finance world covered. We have the operations engineering world covered. We have the marketing sales world covered. We have the customer service team covered. So by discipline, that's what we all grew up, and we all had to go work someplace else.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it was ever said you have to go work someplace else. I think everybody just assumed you had to work someplace else, and no one ever assumed they would be in the business.
Gotcha.
Like I said, it just happened.
Yep.
So you have me. I have a finance background. So finance and I cover all of that, all the admin, all the services, everything. But over the years, I've also run procurement.
Sure.
And I've also been out selling and worked in operations. You had to do that.
Right.
My brother came in. He's an engineer. He had to do the same thing. And we all kind of went through what I would call boot camp. And my husband, when he started, boot camp. And I kind of giggle when I look back at my younger self when my father had hired me, and he handed me a broom and a screwdriver. And he said, the screwdriver is so that you can put your desk together, because I don't have one because we're growing. And the broom is so you can go out and sweep the floor and get to know the people. And I was, are you kidding? What do you mean? I just came from Johnson & Johnson.
I was going to say, we're not at Johnson & Johnson anymore.
I'm a CPA. Come on. But I think everybody had to go through that form of boot camp, and it really kind of set a tone of teamwork. And every now and then when somebody comes in and they're going through boot camp, the team around looks at it and goes, yeah, we know it's happening to them.
Yeah, we've all seen it.
Yeah.
Do you have, let me start with this question, which is, how do you kind of do the division of labor between your husband, your brother, and yourself? Just different kind of backgrounds, so it just sort of fell into
Everybody
place?
kind of fell. My husband was in credit card marketing.
Okay.
And so guess what? He came in, take over marketing and sales. And my brother was an engineer. So he did that. And my trade, and I don't know whether it was planned, but it just happened. And it's nice because we really have, everybody has their own discipline, but they're all working on the same team. And there's always been very much teamwork.
Yeah. How do you guys sort of keep the clean lines between, work and home?
There's always an understanding. Don't talk work at home.
Is that
period.
Right? And
yes,
that's easy to do.
No, it is not. No, it is not. Yeah. No, it is not. And when we have to kind of break it, I instituted my own little rule, which was we're going in another room. So that when we leave and we finish talking business, we close the door, and now we're husband and wife. Now we're family. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's a discipline that you have to work with all the time. Do
you have any consultants you've worked with? I know there's some different family business people around. No, you guys just have figured it out.
Yes.
Well, that's great. That's great. Yep. What about the next generation? Is there going to be a third generation?
To be determined. We still have, they're all still young. Some are in college, some are in high school, some are in grade school, some are just graduating,
Right.
So, and some are going into a whole different discipline.
Right.
If you have a doctor or someone else, they might not have that same interest. But who knows?
Because your passion is so deep. I just assume somebody's picking up
who knows?
Down the line.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether my pop ever planned to have us all in the business. I'm sure when you start something like that, you hope. And to have two and really now a third, I think is a treat.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's easy to kind of let go of the reins when you have family, I think. But it's not just family. I can't talk about just us.
Right.
There's a gentleman there who's part of our executive team is there longer than I. tremendous respect for him. We have operators who are there longer than me. Tremendous respect for them. Those are the team that really makes it happen.
Yeah,
it's not just the family. It's the whole group. So while I'm thrilled what my pop put together and we have disciplines covered, it's not just family that's covering it. It's everybody who's part of the team. I can't take credit. It's my team is what I think really makes us.
What's the culture like at National Graphics that's allowed people to be there for so long? And still such a great part of the team.
I think it's just everybody knows how to work hard and play hard.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bantering, camaraderie, and sometimes the voices get raised a little, and we have a lot of opinions, but we all know how to come to the conclusion and put it to bed.
Yeah.
And I think that's good because you get people's opinions and thoughts, and I hadn't thought of that. And there's a lot of respect too. I think you heard me at the CBIA panel. I'm a big fan of not only mentoring, but reverse mentoring. As we age, we forget that we are subject to new technologies that we might not be touching every day, that our kids are growing up with as part of their normal life. Well, I want to hear from that generation, and I want them to train not me, but the team around them to stay relevant.
How do you do reverse mentoring?
I think it happens by osmosis too. Someone doesn't know how to do something, and you ask the person that knows how to do it to teach them, and that happens.
Right.
Or I called someone in my office, one of my team, one day and said, I don't know how to do this. I know there's a way to do it easier. Can you help me? I think it's by virtue of just displaying a little humility. I don't know how to do it. Can you help me?
I bet people really respect that.
Or they're just happy that somebody asked them to do it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, nothing feels... Well,
or they walk away smiling, going, "Ha ha."
Yeah, well, either way, right? But I mean, that's how you
I
make
taught
someone,
her something this time.
Right, but that's how you make someone feel valued, right? Show them to be able to be humble and ask them to show you something. That's how we learn, and they probably feel really good about that.
Sure. And people come up with the oddest of things. And I'll go back to my J&J days where I give credit there. When I started there, they had something called a cost improvement program where they would get all of the employees to be part of improving the process and the costing associated with it. So you could have an operator who might not have that engineering background, might not have that professional background, but that operator came to the engineer and said, I think we can do it better. And now you have the operator working with the engineers and with the finance people because they found a way to do it better. And I think that is just a great way to keep the team involved. And we do that with our team.
It's something you really took with you and implemented.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. J&J is a well-run organization.
I'm sure.
There's a lot that in my short time there, especially compared to where I am,
right.
There's a lot of respect and a lot to be learned.
What have you guys been doing? I know the business has been growing, which has been awesome and growing for several years. What do you do in terms of recruitment and getting people to join the team to help kind of build the workforce so the business can continue to grow?
I'd say we're struggling like everyone.
Yeah.
We're struggling like everyone. Sometimes it's word of mouth. There's incentives. Employees bring in someone and they stay a certain period of time. There's an incentive. Sometimes it's just flat out marketing it all over the place. Schools, trying to develop a pipeline with some of the schools. We're trying to work with some of the local high schools to develop a pipeline to bring in students, even if it's just for a summer. Maybe when they graduate, they'll want to be with us full time. Maybe they want to go on to college. And when they graduate college, they can come work with us. So that's another way. Sometimes it's just you see someone, and that actually happened to me. I saw someone who was in a totally different discipline, would see this person, and then I said, someday you're going to work for me. You just don't know.
Really?
Someday you're going to work for me. And it's been fun because when you find someone and you see them respond, and that's what I personally really enjoy, is seeing the team respond, because I always want to continue to advance them.
Yeah.
Make it interesting.
I mean, that's just so important, right? I mean, you've talked about some really, I think, awesome things people can get from working at National Graphics, the teamwork approach. You've talked about the reverse mentoring, giving people an opportunity to teach as well as to learn.
Sure.
Having executives be engaged with the customers, all those things got to add up to make it like a really fun place to work where people feel like they can make a difference.
Yes. And I would say that on any given day, different people shine.
Yeah.
And I think that's really nice to see. And to see them shine on their own, where you gave them a push.
Right.
But I don't need to be the one taking the spotlight. I want them to take the spotlight. For me, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really great. When you see somebody out there going, yeah.
When you help someone else be successful, it's like the most rewarding
That's my
thing.
guy. That's my girl.
That's awesome.
That's my team.
Michele, I know we're kind of wrapping up on time here, and before we go to rapid fire, I just want to ask you a couple questions just around your engagement with the broader community. I mean, we mentioned the CBIA panel. I know you're out there and kind of vocal, just supporting the manufacturing industry and really business in Connecticut. And I just wonder, why do you take the time to kind of get involved outside of your business, and why do you get involved to sort of help drive the business climate in Connecticut to a more positive place?
Well, you can get kind of it's almost like a horse running a race and the blinders are on, and you get so sucked into your world that you forget what's going on outside of it. To me, when you get outside of it, you learn different businesses, you're more engaged in the community. That all has a positive impact on the company. Mm-hmm. You meet someone and they might have a suggestion and you have a suggestion. Now you develop a rapport and you're helping each other. There's nothing wrong with that, and you never know where it goes. Maybe that's how we got together here, right?
Yeah, it's exactly true. Yeah.
But I always believe in good karma out, good karma come back.
Yeah, you get what you give, right?
Right,
type of thing.
right. And I like to see other people do well. So I was very engaged with Girl Scouts of Connecticut. So if it means just listening to one young lady and she has enough confidence to go into a world she didn't perhaps think was hers, and you say, go for it. And all you need to do is see that. Like I said, it's fun. I can get excited by seeing someone else do really well.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think you're a shining example of what people can do and the different backgrounds you had and the success you've had at National Graphics and being engaged in the community. I mean, it's really, I think, helpful to see people leading by example, and you're one of those people.
Now you're making me blush.
Well, listen, Michele, we'll stop the blushing, and we're going to convert to rapid fire round of questions. Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Red Sox or Yankees?
Yankees.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Dunkin'.
Staycation or exotic destination?
Exotic.
iPhone or Android?
Android.
Sports car or SUV?
I have the SUV. I think I want a sports car next.
Okay, that's your next move?
Yes, I think so. I'm not so sure.
You'll see?
I have a 6'4" husband. I don't know if he's going to fit.
Get a convertible.
Yes.
There you go. Do you have a favorite business book?
Let me think about it. Believe it or not, the one I'm sharing right now is one that was given to me by someone that I hold dear to my heart. You develop friendships, and sometimes it becomes a mentor. But it was about how women lead, and I'm sharing it with other women, and it's how women lead.
How women lead.
And it's a discussion on kind of like just the approach that everyone takes and how it can be misread. And how it can be, sometimes communications can be misread, not intentionally, but how to open up eyes. And also it kind of gives young up-and-coming leaders an opportunity to look at it. And I'm not saying just women. I gave it to my team, men and women, because I think it's kind of like that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, in a different way. And it kind of opens up everybody's eyes to how someone might be thinking. And if you can understand it, then what they say is not as offensive. It might just be what they said, but it's the way it's being received is different.
Yeah, perspective is everything. If you had to do something, Michele, other than be the executive vice president at National Graphics, and it could be anything in the whole wide world,
oh boy. What would I do?
Yeah, it has to be something else. What would you do? It's your dream gig.
Boy, that's a tough one. I got to think about that. I love travel, and I love seeing people do well. So they're two different ends.
Yeah, they are.
One might be traveling the world and having just total fun. And the other, if I were to actually do something, would be to inspire the next generation to be the best that they can be. Because I really think the next generation, every generation has something to give. But how do you tap that and see them really do well? That's fun.
That is fun. So what's one thing, Michele, that you learned early in your career or early in your life that you think helped propel you to all the success that you've had?
What would I say? The first thing that comes to mind you never thought would be the end answer. But I think it would be just to stay steady. There's going to be ups and downs throughout the day all the time. But just stay steady. Yeah. Keep doing it. I think that's part of our success is, today the marketplace went through the roof. We have to stay steady. Everybody just keep plugging forward. It'll pass. We'll weather this. Tomorrow something happens. Stay steady. It sounds really boring, doesn't it?
Yeah, this too shall pass, though, right?
But I think that's what helps you, especially when you're in manufacturing, because manufacturing has got these ups and downs all the time.
Yeah.
So if you just stay steady, it's probably what keeps you going.
I hear that. And finally, what's something that you learned later in your life or later in your career that if you could go back and tell young Michele and she'd listen to you, you think it'd have a real positive impact on her?
Oh, boy. Stay steady.
Stay steady.
Don't.
You used to ride the roller coaster a little bit more when you were younger?
Oh, sure. I think every young person does.
Yeah.
They're so passionate.
Yeah.
And they're so into their job that everything's an oh my God. It's not. It's knowing which one is the oh my God. And listen. I think it's listen to everything. Listen with your eyes, with your ears. Just really observe. Because what you hear and what you see might not be exactly what you're interpreting it to be. So just take a breath sometimes.
See what's out there. I love it. Michele, thank you so much for coming on.
I'm honored.
Today.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's my pleasure.
Inviting me, for inviting our company. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by CompassMSP.
Thanks for listening and spending some time with me today. My goal is to help build a strong manufacturing community, and it would be impossible to do without all of you.